Welcome to Occasional Randomness. I am your host, Eric Scott, and join me as always, my fellow co-host, someone who loves a good hike through a swamp, Jason Johnson.
Yeah, all I'll say is it's better than the pit of despair, though I may have lost some time off my life somewhere along the way here. Not sure what happened, but moving on.
Nothing like trudging through a soundstage swamp.
Yeah, obviously I'll get more into it later, but this thing had such Princess Bride vibes, I couldn't pass it up. So
All right, so as if you haven't figured it out, this time around we're continuing our regular Farscape review with Season 3, Episode 10, Relativity, which, as you can probably figure out, takes place in a swamp. And then after that, we are going to finish our review of The Mandalorian Season 3 with Episodes 5 through 8. And just a little reminder, if you like our little podcast here, please give us a like or a review wherever you listen to this at. We don't care where it is. Just leave it somewhere.
park benches, laundromats,
Random
whatever.
random people, fit the theme of the show, whatever.
At least occasionally.
Yeah. So, help spread the word if you like it and let people know about us. Because if you like this, probably other people that you know do also. All right. So, since we're alternating recapping the episode, I think I did last time. So, I think you're up for this one.
Yeah, that seems right. So unless you want to randomly switch it up, but okay, I'll get this one.
Yeah, we could flip a coin. I don't know.
Okay, Google Flip D1.
Yeah.
No, wait.
Even though it's an audio podcast and I can't see what you flip, but hey, you can, you can say anything you want.
My D1 says that, okay, yeah. Anyway, Farscape Season 3, Episode 10, Relativity. So we start out with Talyn having landed in a jungle planet to continue to heal from his injuries. See previous episode. Rygel and Stark are complaining that Aeryn and Crichton were extremely loud during the night. In the next room, Aeryn and Crichton are in bed together, under the covers, and Crichton bangs on the wall, pretending to groan. As they kiss, Crace detects a ship in the vicinity and calls everyone to command. It's the Vigilant, the peacekeeper retrieval ship that's after them, and it's landed on the planet. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Xhalax Sun and 3, I'll slaughter this word, Colartus, Pina Coladas, whatever they are.
Pina coladas, yeah. That's right.
Who I'm going to definitely go borrow that one from Crichton and use that for this recap. They're having problems with the planet's heavy gravity, emerged from a prowler. The injured one says that it will earn its share, but Xhalax shoots it and tells the other two that their shares have just increased.
And now you know she means business, because that's some hard leadership right there.
Yeah, the weak shall not inherit their portion? I don't know. Anyway, Crichton, Crace, and Aeryn go outside to act as decoys and keep the squad from finding Talyn until he has healed. Rygel and Stark find vines growing inside that belong outside, so Stark and Rygel start to try to cut them. However, Rygel is convinced that Talyn will be able to pull free once he's fully recovered. Xhalax is watching Crichton, Aeryn, and Crace as they scout and opens fire. Lots and lots of gunfire ensues, and during the fight, Aeryn draws Xhalax away from everyone. Crace is shot in the arm, and Aeryn manages to shoot Xhalax in the leg, but is distracted by Crichton calling for her. Xhalax grabs her from behind and tells her, "Move or you die." Xhalax asks Aeryn where he is, and a fistfight begins, during which Aeryn knocks Xhalax unconscious. Crichton, meanwhile, finds Crace bleeding from the arm, and Crace tells him that they're using Colartus, Pina Coladas, who will find and kill him if he's left bleeding. One of their hearts has burst, and the other two agree to continue the hunt without Xhalax. Aeryn has tied up Xhalax and patched up her injured leg. And Xhalax asks who she is, and she replies that she's Aeryn Sun, her daughter. Xhalax says that if she's her daughter, then she is a peacekeeper. But Aeryn says she's not anymore, and Xhalax concludes that Aeryn must be with Crace, indicating she didn't know. Crichton is holding Crace up as they look for Aeryn. Aeryn is forcing Xhalax back to Talyn, and Xhalax tells her that naming the gunship Talyn after her father is sentimental and weak. But Aeryn tells her that she has only kept Xhalax alive for possible use as leverage. Back to Crichton and Crace, they're lost, but find some smelly sludge, and they should cover their scent from the Colartus. Rygel tells Stark that as soon as Talyn is healed, they're leaving, whether the others have returned or not, just as Aeryn comes in with Xhalax. The Colartus are confused since they are picking up no scent, but they manage to detect body heat. Crichton is visited by Harvey, who tells him that Crichton's subconscious summoned him. Crichton asks if the Colartus are everything Crace said they are, to which Scorpius responds by saying yes. In that, at least, Crace was completely forthright. Crichton asks where Crace has not been forthright. Back on Talyn, Xhalax retrieves a blade from under her skin and cuts herself loose before inhaling some sort of combat drug that makes her immune to pain. She attacks Aeryn and Stark and stabs Rygel. She locks up Stark and Rygel is cut open and dying, barely managing to ask Stark for help. Aeryn is tied up as Xhalax says how remarkable Talyn is. She's severing his higher function so that she can take him to high command, and tells Aeryn that her orders are to subdue the gunship for transport, then track and deliver her second target. Crais is tied up as Crichton says that being a former captain, he would know all the things that the peacekeepers wouldn't want to get out, and wondered why Crais wanted Talyn so bad. But then it came to him. Crais needs them. He knew they wouldn't help him, but would do anything for Talyn. The peacekeepers are after Crais too, and Crais says that that's not the only reason he helped them, but Crichton says that the peacekeepers can have him and leaves Crais for the taking.
But he's in the main title credits. He can't leave.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that'll work its way out. Back on Talyn, Aeryn tries to convince Xhalax not to sever Talyn's higher functions. Xhalax calls her daughter a traitor, telling her that she is pathetic. But Aeryn reminds Xhalax of the night she visited Aeryn, and Xhalax tells Aeryn that she paid for her actions. She was given a chance to redeem herself by killing Talyn, Aeryn's father. The Calartas find Crais, but Crichton jumps them and manages to stab both of them. Crais is angry at being used as a decoy and tells Crichton that he's going to execute him, then just kill him, but don't leave him to die. He then asks Crichton how he will command Talyn if Aeryn is not there or she's dead. Xhalax watches the vid recording of her telling Aeryn that she is her mother. Stark tells Aeryn that Rygel was dead for several microts, but he managed to seal Rygel's wounds with vines, which are aiding in the healing process. Xhalax says the vid is old history. Aeryn's father is dead, and Aeryn will now face a tribunal on account of high treason. One of the Calartas wakes up in the jungle, as does Rygel back on Talyn. He says that he needs bed rest, but Aeryn gets him to untie them. Xhalax leaves Talyn and retrieves a weapon from the Prowler as Crichton and Crais make their way to Talyn. Crais is attacked by the revived Calarta, but Crichton helps, and as Xhalax goes to fire from the bushes, Aeryn jumps her. They fight, and Xhalax tells her that she would try and take Aeryn back, but her corruption is too advanced. Aeryn says that her corruption began the day she was conceived. She tells Xhalax that her independence came from the woman she had only seen once, and she is the part of Xhalax that wanted to rebel. Xhalax calls Aeryn an aberration, but Aeryn says that she is her child. Crichton and Crais kill the Calarta, and Aeryn manages to get a hold of Xhalax's gun. Aeryn says they'll have to kill Xhalax, but Crichton says that she can't be the one to do it. Xhalax says that Aeryn can't do it because she is afraid. Crais tells Crichton that Aeryn is right, they can't let Xhalax live. If they do, she'll come after him again. Crichton says Aeryn will not be the one to kill her mother, so Crais tells him that he will do it. Crais tells Aeryn to go, saying that she must not witness this. Xhalax calls Aeryn a coward, and Aeryn drops to her knees and asks if she is right, and if they let Xhalax live, she will come after them again. Xhalax asks Aeryn if she expects her to lie, to beg for her life. She says that Crais is right, she will hunt them down and kill them. Aeryn says, "Goodbye, mother," as Crichton takes her away. As they leave, Xhalax tells Crais to do it. Aeryn goes to turn back, but they hear the sounds of gunfire, and Aeryn is left to be comforted in Crichton's arms. Back on Talyn, Stark says that Rygel's recovery is a miracle. He says that Rygel is lucky to be alive, again, and Rygel questions, again? Stark tells him that for a while he was dead, and that when he joined with Rygel to bring him back, he met with Xan. He says that she looked content and whispered a prayer of guardianship. She is watching over them. Crichton asks Aeryn how Crais is, and Aeryn says that he is trying to splice his neural engrams with Talyn so that Talyn will be able to navigate on his own again, and they can finally get some sleep or not. She tells Crichton that he doesn't have to wait up, but he wants to. She tells him that that's all they can do, but Crichton is concerned with a large part of Crais' sight now residing in Talyn. But it's the only way to bring Talyn back to life. Aeryn then tells Crichton that with Xhalax gone, all her connections to the Peacekeepers are completely severed. Okay, so a little bit of trivia for this episode. It's the first episode written by Rockne O'Bannon, the creator of Farscape, since the first season. The jungle planet, as we kind of mentioned earlier, was constructed on a soundstage at Homebush Bay. No location filming took place, and every type of special effect machine was used to enhance the atmosphere, including fog machines, dry ice, and fire machines. Creature costume designer Lou Esley gave the Calartas look an Egyptian theme in order to hide their costumes' zippers and seams in a creative way. And finally, Crace's yelp of pain as Crichton manhandles him through the swamp is genuine. Lanny Tupu stumbled as Ben Browder was pulling on his arm, and Tupu insisted on repeating the yelp in subsequent takes. So, after all that, Eric, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, overall, this is a good episode, or I guess I wouldn't call it great, as well. This is probably one thing that was a little annoying, but we'll get into that. But yeah, this is obviously what we've been waiting for. Aeryn finally gets to be her mother, and it was probably everything drama-wise that you would want it to be, right? They had wonderful scenes, which we'll get here into in a little bit, and then also we have like the Crichton and Cray subplot that was good too, as they're running around the swamp trying to survive. But then you learn that, oh, now you know why Crace is kind of glommed onto us. It's like, so John's never fully trusted Crace, and why should he? He's the reason why he's stuck in the mess he's in right now, right? What he finds out just proves that point further. And then what maybe keeps it from being a wonderfully great episode is the Stark Rygel subplot, which was half good, I guess, as we'll probably get to it here in a minute. But yeah, overall, 1.5 thumbs up, I guess.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I really enjoyed this one. I think maybe even a little more than you indicated. I didn't really get hung up on any of the points. We've kind of talked a little bit about the scenery, but I kept having Princess Bride flashbacks for the fire swamp. And while I'm disappointed we didn't get any RUSs, the whole the scenery worked for me in this episode. Relationship wise, I think we were all in a good spot. And yeah, I think that this was a good overall story. Although I got to admit, I did not expect them to resolve the plot with Aeryn's mom quite so quickly. Right? Like I expected that to draw out for a good bit more the rest of the season.
Yeah, and who knows? We'll get into that. Yeah, but yeah, rodents of unusual size. Yeah, I don't think they exist.
Yeah, they must not on this planet because we didn't get to see them. So.
I mean, he had the little fire shooting, or not fire. It was like a poisonous gas shooting geyser. That'd be a perfect chance right there to.
I
And I see that they did roll one of those corlatas into it, so I guess he's kind of the same almost.
Yeah. I was really expecting you to have a good scene where one of the pina coladas gets hit with the gout of stuff, and it was like mirroring the scene from Princess Bride, but they got close.
Yeah, or they like stick him in there and then like they'd shoot it or something and set off a spark and it'd be like a big flame geyser would come up. But yeah, they didn't. I guess having fire on a sound stage probably not a good idea. So
True.
all right, so let's kind of go through some of these. The opening is hilarious, where you're wondering what Rachel and Stark are talking about. Like, John and Aeryn were, loud last night. Like, huh, what? And then it cuts to them, like, in bed. You're like, oh, okay, finally. Now that last episode, they've dealt with, hopefully, finally, the drama, but trying to split them up. So hopefully they're a permanent couple now, and they can move forward. And yeah, it's just hilarious that, yeah, he's like banging on the wall and acting like they're, having sexy time, and they're all like listening at the wall. They're like got their ears against the wall, like what's going on?
Yeah, I think this one being written by O'Bannon may have helped, kind of move that forward a little bit. And yeah, as I've repeatedly said, this is my preferred status of the crew, kind of getting some of the drama outside of the family. So that was nice to have, a solid core and external conflict. Although now, when we get the crew back together, there's some potential for drama with the other John, right? Because now you've got one John who's been on Talyn with Aeryn and kind of built the relationship, and the other John's still John, but not.
Yeah, because he was complaining that this is what was going to happen, right? The other John's like the other one's going to get Aeryn and become whatever with her, and I can't get to her or whatever. So yeah, he's right.
Yeah,
so,
he called it.
so now you wonder which one's the real. Even though it doesn't matter because technically they were the same Crichton. So yeah, now you're kind of wondering even more which one was the one that got twinned, versus the twin. So I don't know. We'll never know probably. So we'll just have to deal with it. So.
Yeah, and obviously, are they going to continue to exist? Are they going to put them back together? What's that outcome going to be? Is the interesting resolution, right? So we'll get there one day.
Mm-hmm. And then we have probably like a couple of minute gun battle through the fake swamp, which I mean to me it seemed kind of like a little herky jerky, kind of uneven, like they kind of some cutting and flashes and whatever. So I don't know if that's what they're trying to go for to show like the fog of war kind of deal, or because they're on a fixed. I don't know how big the soundstage was, but so they gotta keep them kind of contained and but make it look like they're in a giant swamp. I don't know. And then I don't know what kind of power source these rifles have, but of course they always seem to run out of ammunition just at the wrong time. Because everyone kept running out of ammo and just throwing the gun away and pulling out other guns. I'm like, you don't have like spare power cells or clips or something? I don't...
That's the beauty of laser rifles versus real rifles, right? It's that you never have to actually quantify the charge. You just never. It's whenever the plot says, "Oh, we need them to toss their rifles and have some drama here," so this is where they're going to run out of ammo and toss the rifles. It doesn't have to make any logical sense because it's just a charge.
Yeah, it's like, they're in the Matrix and they just keep pulling guns out and just shoot them. Oh, the gun's done. Throw it away. Another gun.
Now, see that there's an episode for you, crossover. The Matrix and Farscape. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean that came out right when Farscape aired, right, 99. So I mean, yeah, who knows? But could have worked.
I forget how much the overlap is there. That's interesting.
Although we had our virtual reality kind of episodes, sort of like the dream sequence where things aren't right, or so they kind of riffed on it technically, or that's an old science fiction concept, but still.
Yeah, well, I started to say that we don't really have the technology part, right? That everything's mostly organic based, and so we don't have the same computer world that we have in the Matrix. Although we did have, Scorpius and John in each other's heads because of the computer chip. So maybe not. Who knows? Which we'll talk about Harvey in a little bit. I did want to say that I agree with you on the herky jerky stuff. I think that was intentional way of hiding the fact that they were on the soundstage. Plus those, it just kind of gives them a way to use that scenery when I think if you had a slower, less dramatic plot, right, where everything's not bouncing around so much, that the set wouldn't have held up as well under scrutiny.
Yeah, it does add more drama, like because you're trying to figure out what's going on. It's not just like an overhead shot of like people shooting each other. You have to have that kind of like quick cuts and people jumping around and
Yeah,
makes it more.
it'd be too easy to see the seams, right, if they held on
Yeah.
something too long.
And then, of course, Rygel wants to leave once Talon's healed, if no one's back. And at this point, I mean, I keep pointing it out just because, but at this point, I give up. I mean, it's just some people never change. So at this point, it's kind of stopped bugging me. So I'm just going to point it out just because, it is what it is. That's Rygel. But at least he's not alone, and Stark's there to talk him out of it if it came to that, which it didn't.
My take on this is I think that they're having a little trouble figuring out how to use Rygel this season. He doesn't seem to be as essential as some of the other characters have been, and the focus of the plots and things like that. So they kind of just, how do we use Rygel this episode? Oh, I know, we'll have him want to leave. How do we use Rygel this episode? Oh, we'll have him want to strand the crew and take off on his own. I think it's just them struggling to find a way to use him with this large of a cast.
Yeah, but then, contrary to what he's been portrayed as, when Xhalax was beating up the rest of the crew and trying to take over the ship, he lunged at her with a knife, which was way out of character if you believe that he's just this coward that just wants to leave all the time. And he pretty much paid for it. So maybe he was right in the first place. Don't really do things. He tried to step out of his comfort zone and he got got stabbed for it. So
Well, I'm sure he'll milk this injury for the next 4 or 5 episodes.
yeah, he'll never let Stark live it down, even though Stark saved his life apparently. But hey, that's how Rygel works. And hey, speaking of things we haven't seen in a while, Harvey's back. Woo!
Woo!
And apparently this time he's helpful. So, which might be the new way Harvey's working now that he's not a neural chip trying to subvert Crichton. So he's just part of his subconscious now, and he wants to be helpful because I guess if Crichton dies, he ain't getting out this time. So, yeah. Although he is doing what he does best, he's sowing some dissent, some paranoia, some confusion with John, which feeds into John's already complete distrust of Grace that probably hasn't ever gone away. And this just reinforces the fact that, hey, that Grace guy, you never know what he's doing there. So I love it.
Yeah, I was glad to see Harvey back as well. I think that's as much as I wasn't a fan of that initial plot point, I've kind of grown into enjoying the interplay, right? So that's really cool. And I'm starting to wonder if now that the chip is gone, if this is like John's subconscious, the dark and paranoid traits, right? The stuff that he's pushing away, and the personality traits that we don't want to confront, right? But being able to make it manifest it and make it into Harvey gives him a way to analyze things through that lens that he doesn't necessarily want to do, right? He wants to the good explorer, NASA astronaut part of him, is kept separate from the darker paranoid traits. I don't know, just a theory.
Yeah, so it's like a split personality versus like a true another consciousness in him, right? Or like a Two-Face, like Batman villain kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it just gives him like an internal manifestation to talk to and but inform him, right? Because a normal person would be paranoid of Crace, and this is John's paranoia driving it.
And then they kind of do that little plot twisty kind of thing where you would think that Xhalax is there to also maybe take Aeryn back, but apparently she had no idea that her daughter was there. So that maybe confirms one of our theories that she had no clue that Aeryn, that Peacekeeper Command wasn't telling her about Aeryn. They were on to Krace instead, which they knew Krace had Talyn. Probably didn't necessarily know or think that maybe Aeryn might be around there too. So why tell mom, right? Because who cares? So, and Krace is probably the more important of the two to grab anyway, because he's in command of Talyn, and like Harvey said, Krace knows things because he's got all the Peacekeeper Command knowledge and whatever. So that's the one to target. So you can have your rogue peacekeeper captains running around the galaxy and having it kill that peacekeeping vibe, and we're in charge and we're in command, we know what we're doing. It's like, oh, we got this rogue dude running around, so nope, gotta get him and take care of him.
Yeah, and although I don't think Aeryn was part of the package overall, just kind of a way to get to Krace and Talyn when she showed up, I kind of wonder what Peacekeeper's Command's thought was there, because they knew she was there too. Is she not that level of threat, right? The stuff that she knows isn't as bad of a look. I don't know. It makes me wonder. But obviously, like you said, Krace was the big target, and he was higher ranking, so that makes sense. I'm surprised that Aeryn wasn't part of it at all.
Yeah, I mean, they were on those wanted posters or wanted whatever robot, protection things, last season. But yeah, maybe now that, Scorpius has his chip, he's doing his wormhole research. It's like, Aaron's not the concern anymore. I don't care. We don't care about her anymore. But Krace, yeah, we can't have him running around with this gunship. We got to take care of that. But who knows? We'll see.
I'm sure they'll keep trying because they didn't get him, either of them.
That's right. And hey, so here's a neat trick on how you escape from some bonds. So, Zedlex gets captured, gets bound up, and yeah, she just happens to have a knife like under her skin, like ow, and she like cuts it out. I mean, that's dedication. I mean, that's some hardcore training in how to escape from your prisoners.
That's cutting edge technology.
Yeah, that's right. And it's definitely a different take on escaping from your bonds. So it's not like, you find something sharp and cut yourself. It's like, no, you have something sharp in you. And then, of course, she stabs Roger with it too. So hey, it's dual use.
Yeah, I get your point, but I guess the positive there is that it couldn't be poisoned if it was inside of her, right?
Yeah, that kind of defeats the point. It's your combo suicide capsule / escape.
Break seal to no wait.
Yeah, right. Break knife to wait no. And then, like we talked about earlier, obviously this whole episode was the confrontation between Aeryn and her mom, that we've been building for the last couple episodes. And her mom's like, "Oh, who are you?" And like, I don't have a daughter." Like, "Yeah, you do." Don't you remember the thing? And then she plays into it. It's like, "Okay, fine. Well, then, you made me have to kill your father because they found out about us, and I'm going to take you back to stand trial for high treason." It's like, "Yeah, great, thanks, mom. I'll just stay here, really."
Yeah, and it was a great example of how irredeemable most peacekeepers are. I mean, even her daughter's not enough to bring her back. But in a way, I was kind of glad for that, because I was kind of worried that we were going to go into this and have it be love wins out, and we keep redeeming peacekeepers, and then we're just going to end up with an entire crew of redeemed peacekeepers. We keep going, how many can all be saved, and you end up with all that. It's like, no, they're really completely brainwashed zealots for the most part, and Aeryn is going to be the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, because I mean, and granted they weren't married, but if you kill your, father of your daughter, and then you want to take your daughter back for a tribunal, which I mean, they're not going to find her not guilty. So like, what's going to happen if you take her back. So yeah, I mean, she's just totally drunk the Kool-Aid. She's all in. She's going to do whatever she can do to keep her place in the only job she knows, right? So
And she tells them as much, right? They have to kill her to.
yeah, because at that final fight, and even Aeryn knows it. She's like, "We have to kill her," and Crichton, I guess, just doesn't get it. He's like, "No, but, we're just gonna, I guess, leave her here. I don't know. Like, no, we can't kill her." And she's like, "No, she's gonna keep coming." And then he still won't do it, or sanction it, I guess. And then even Crace is like, "No, she's right." And I guess now at this point, because John just doesn't believe anything Crace says, he's still not listening. So I think it's only really when Xhalax herself said, "No, I'm going to keep coming for you," that I guess it finally sunk in, and it's like, okay, this has to be done. But obviously, Aeryn can't kill her mom, so it's like, okay, Crace, you do it. I'll take her away and do what you got to do. And of course, given the sci-fi concept of no body, no death, all you hear is gunshots in the distance, And is she dead? It's obviously a great opening that if this was popular or if another writer picked it up, they can carry it on later this season, next season, who knows what. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see her again.
Yeah, I mean, for some shows, I would assume that they were just avoiding a death scene. If you set the expectation that she gets shot, you hear it, you see the characters flinch and all that kind of stuff, that you get the feeling that, oh yeah, she got shot. But Farscape's really never been afraid to show you things like that. So I don't think that was it in this case. And it seems convenient that in the same episode that they showed us Crace's treachery and that what he was really up to the whole time and using them, they give him an out because he quote killed Xhalax. Then it could be, but like you say, they can always just bring it back and it's chalk it up to Crace being Crace.
Yeah, or if you kill her, then this is going to send somebody else. And at least here you might have some leverage, if she has some kind of remorse for her daughter or something, I don't know, you can play it up. And again, it's better drama than just some strange new people coming along. So,
Yeah, better the devil right.
Right. All right, and then we wrap things up nicely as we do in Farscape. Well, not really, but with learning two new things, one good and one not so good. So the good, kind of, is that when Rygel was bringing Stark back from the dead, he says he saw Zan and says that she's watching over them. So that's cool.
Yeah,
she's still around, like, in spirit.
Unfortunately, no actress, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess when the blue makeup's killing you, I guess you're kind of done. I don't know. And the bad thing, or at least bad for the crew, great for drama, is that Crace is apparently splicing his neural engrams in with Talyn to fix Talyn's damage. And John doesn't like that, and he's probably right given what happened last episode. So this is probably not going to end well at all, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were going to handle Aeryn destroying her link last episode, and now that Crace is completely spiced in like this, and will have even more control and influence. Yeah, I think we're setting ourselves up for a bad fallout next time we get back to this crew.
Yeah, or if we ever do our Star Trek original series watch of episodes, since you haven't seen most of them or any of them, there's one called The Ultimate Computer, where the Enterprise gets the honor of having this computer be able to take over all the functions of the ship and only run with a couple of people on the ship versus the whole crew. And that computer's new approach was that its designer, he put his engrams into the computer. And of course, the computer goes nuts, takes over the ship, and wants to kill everybody. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, this is the same thing in that show. This ain't gonna go well. This is gonna be trouble 2 episodes from now, because next episode will be about Moya's crew. So we'll see what happens 2 weeks from now.
You said trouble, and I thought we were gonna have tribbles. But anyway,
hey,
my little bit of Star Trek knowledge.
Yeah. And that's just because it was in one Deep Space Nine episode. That's probably.
Yeah. I think it got referenced on some other sci-fi show. But anyway.
All right. So before we wrap up, or we are wrapping up, any other comments about this episode?
No, I mean, just to kind of recap, I did really enjoy this one. I think it goes high on my list of the season. I like the interplay. I like the resolution. I liked, the family drama. So this was one of my favorite split crew episodes so far.
Yeah, like I said, 1.5 thumbs up, just because I said I didn't like what Rygel did, but then again, I also said I'm over it, which I guess I'm not because I mentioned it. So.
Yeah, we can tell you're over it. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't care. But yeah, definitely another solid episode of the season. All right, so before we jump into Mandalorian Season 3, to give people time to jump away if they don't care or haven't watched it yet or whatever, we'll just tell you what's up next for Farscape. So next time around will be Season 3, Episode 11, Incubator. And playing our usual game of what does that mean? Well, two things possibly. Obvious one is what it is. The main definition is an incubator is used to help grow or protect like prematurely born things like, eggs or babies, little microorganisms, stuff like that. So this could be like an alien type episode where something gets implanted in one of our characters or more than one of our characters, and they're carrying it around and have to try to deal with that. Or having worked in IT for decades and having watched all of Silicon Valley, it could be some kind of like maybe tech or science startup or collective kind of thing, like a think tank maybe. So maybe we might get more of Scorpius and his wormhole research, possibly.
I didn't think about it until you mentioned it, but I really do like that approach. It may be the former, but given that last time the upcoming split crew B, or whatever we're calling them, A and B, how we're going to handle it, is the one that seems to be dealing with Scorpius plot with the wormhole tech. I think that you're right. I think we may be switching back and seeing Scorpius's next move and how that crew's going to deal with it.
Yeah, because we already had like the alien micro, like that smart virus from last season that already took over people and jumped around. So I mean,
Well,
yeah, I mean it's sci-fi and they reuse stuff, but they kind of already did a good episode on that like last season ago. So hopefully it's not that.
and this same crew just dealt with possession already. Like they literally were possessed last episode.
Good point too. So hopefully they won't go back to that so soon. So
They're just constantly getting something embedded in them, just
yeah,
nonstop. Every time we go back to them, something new embeds itself.
people get cloned, they get stuff in them, they whatever. It's just that's how we roll now. That's all Farscape is. All right, so that's your homework for Farscape. And if you're leaving, we'll see you next time. If not, hang around for a couple seconds, and we'll jump into Mandalorian. All right, so might be a while since you've seen 4 episodes of Mandalorian, and so we'll give you like a quick paragraph recap of the episodes, then we'll jump into our thoughts and opinions, since it's an opinion podcast, about what we thought. All right, so I guess we can alternate again like we did last time.
That'll work. That seems random.
Yeah. All right, so episode 5, or since they're doing chapters, chapter 21, called The Pirate. So remember those pirates back in episode 1 of the season? Well, they're back, and they're attacking Navarro again. This time, Din Djarin's not there, and it doesn't go so well. So Grief Karga contacts New Republic pilot Carson Teva, if you remember him from those little cameo episodes the last couple seasons, to try to get help from the New Republic. He goes back to his boss, but they don't really seem to care too much because Navarro's not officially signed on to the New Republic. So Carson goes kind of outside the chain of command and contacts Din Djarin directly, and Din convinces the Mandalorian covert to go help Navarro. They stop the invasion, yay, and Grief gives them land on Navarro if they want to call their own, which is cool if they can't get, Mandalore back. They get somewhere to live.
Yeah, or an outpost.
Yeah. But meanwhile, the armorer tells Bo-Katan that since she saw the mythosaur a couple episodes ago, that's a sign that she can reunite Mandalore. So she can walk around without her helmet and no one's going to complain about it. Well, yeah. And then in the little closing tag, we go back to our buddy Carson from New Republic, who's flying along and finds the wreckage of Moff Gideon's prison transport. But there's no bodies in it.
Ooh. And that leads us into chapter 22, Guns for Hire, which breaks our theme of the something naming convention for these 4 episodes. So I'm a little disappointed in the name. Starts out with Bo-Katan and Din Djarin off to Plazer 15 to try to recruit her former army, which is now led by Axe Wolves. And I always want to say wolves, so apologies.
I know, I saw that too. I'm like, I'm like, oh, they're called the Axe Wolves. No, that's the dude's name, not the group's name.
Yeah, Clan Wolves. Whatever. But they're in the employ of the rulers of the planet, played by Jack Black and Lizzo. Ooh, cameos. Before they can talk to her army, they need to help the rulers subdue some rogue droids that are threatening their society.
As droids do, because,
Yeah, droids got a droid. Maybe not. Anyway, after stopping one droid, they follow its trail back to a droid bar, which apparently they have those.
I have so many questions, but anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Droids are always a thing. And discovered that the droids were sabotaged through nanodroids, so droids and droids, in the bar's maintenance fluid, which comes from the planetary security chief Helget, which is played by yet another celebrity cameo, Christopher Lloyd. No Einstein, though, just Christopher Lloyd.
No Doc Brown here, just...
Helget reveals himself as a separatist before being apprehended. Then Bo-Katan meets with her old army, challenges Axe to a leadership duel, and wins. Din does some clever rules lawyering and hands Bo-Katan the Darksaber, which is rightfully now belongs to her.
And then we jump into chapter 23, The Spies, which we're back to our The title theme.
Yay.
Moff Gideon's alive, babies!
And they didn't do it in a crawl. Anyway, more on that
Yeah,
later.
they just jump right into it. They don't tease it out. It's like right there. So, He's informed by Elia Kane. Remember her, the not so reformed Imperial defector from episode 3 that went off on a tangent that we thought, nope, not a tangent, vital to the plot. So she's told him that the Mandalorians intend to retake Mandalore. Then we have a pretty cool scene where Gideon talks to the Shadow Council, which is a group of former Imperial leaders, including such name-dropper people as Commandant Brendel Hux, Captain Pelion, which we'll get to in a minute, and they name-drop the crap out of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Woohoo! And then back on Navarro, the Mandalorians are gearing up to go back to Mandalore, and Grief Karga presents Din Djarin with a surprise. IG-12, not 11, 12, a rebuilt IG-11 with a twist. It's just a dumb mech suit, basically, and Grogu is the pilot. So, alright, mech combat, hey, alright. And they get to Mandalore, they encounter some survivor Mandalorians from its destruction. They all team up, and they find the Great Forge.
I have questions about the survivors, but we'll get there.
Yeah, and why you wouldn't know about the giant creature that's next. Anyway, but unfortunately, they're ambushed by stormtroopers wearing Beskar armor, and Din gets captured by a pretty cool Beskar wearing Moff Gideon. Not quite Iron Man, but close enough. Bo-Katan and the others escape, while Paz Vizsla from a couple episodes ago, as you know, the guy with the big like Gatling laser gun, gives his life to buy time for them, eventually being killed rather nastily by those really cool looking, also Imperial Praetorian Guard.
Which then leads us into Chapter 24, The Return. Bo-Katan and the others retreat to the surface, while Axe Wolves goes back to their fleet above Mandalore to warn them. He sends all the Mandalorians down to the planet to stop Gideon, while he stays behind to stop the attacking TIE squadrons, which are coming up from Mandalore. Grogu, in his cool IG-12 mech armor, frees Din, and they find the clone tanks filled with clones of Gideon, which Din promptly destroys. So, easy come, easy go. After the battle with the Mandalorians and Beskar stormtroopers, Bo-Katan, Grogu, Din Djarin confront the Gideon and his Praetorian guards. Din stops the guards while Bo-Katan almost defeats Gideon, but he destroys the Darksaber. Axe rams the capital ship into the Imperial base, which seemingly kills Gideon. Grogu protects Bo-Katan and Din from the blast with a force bubble. And afterwards, the Great Forge is fired up again, and Din formally adopts Grogu as his son and apprentice. They go back to Carson Teva and agree to do contract work for the New Republic, and they move into a cabin on the outskirts of Navarro, which is now under the protection of their new marshal, the rebuilt IG-11.
Yeah, so if this ended with season 3, they wrapped up all the little bows and tied everything to a knot, and it's all wonderful and great, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, even with a little zoom in bubble, right? I mean, it was like, an iris, I guess I should say, not a bubble. So, very, very nicely wrapped.
Yeah, so all in all, I thought they did, this was another amazing season of The Mandalorian, which I guess it's, season 3.5 if you count half of the Book of Boba Fett was The Mandalorian. But anyway.
Which makes you wonder about that. But anyway.
Yeah. Jon Favreau is a great writer, knows what he's doing, and had a vision and sold it. All right, so it's 4 episodes to go through. So I guess we'll just jump around here. We'll see what we get. So.
Yeah, it's random, so we'll just jump it. Y'all know what you're getting. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think we were pretty much right in our guesses last time for the first half that the rest of this season is now going to pivot to being about reuniting Mandalorians and reclaiming Mandalore, which, check. But, if things didn't work out too well, at least they could stay on Navarro and have their, 40 acres and a mule kind of thing or whatever. So.
Which they did, right? Because that's where Din ended up, or the Dens, right? The Dens ended up.
Yeah,
there,
right.
Which is the next season.
Yeah, I guess now we can't just call him Din, because you're like Din Djarin, so like Din's like their surname, or that's so yeah, because now it's Din Grogu. So I'm like, okay, so you can't just say Din now, because who are you talking about?
Which is confusing, because all the rest of the named Mandalorians are something clan. So, Bo-Katan, Axe Woves, Pax Vizsla, Clan Vizsla. So you have clan names at the end except for Din. So that's a little confused.
Yeah. But hey, maybe it means something to the Mandalorians. We don't know. So
yeah, true.
This is the way, right?
So. Well, and he was older when he was a foundling, so maybe he came with that name. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Can't remember back that far. But...
Nice.
Hey, there's too much TV. I got short-term memory loss for just trying to keep track of what I'm trying to watch now, man.
Man, I'm diving into Bad Batch right now. We're going to mix everything together. No, okay, go ahead. Yeah. We'll stick with this.
And, the New Republic's basically, that's your own business, Navarro. You're not, check the roster here. Nope, you're not a member. Oh, well, sorry, good luck. Which, I mean, that kind of sucks, but I guess, they're dealing with their own problems of building a new government. dealing with all your ex-Imperials and remaining Imperials and Imperials you think you reformed that aren't reformed. Because right there in the middle of, I guess, the important, I don't know if he's a colonel or wherever he was, the commander guy is like the spy who's like trying to shove off Carson's concerns, like, oh yeah, there's rumors about Imperials on out here. It's like, oh no, I'm sure it's fine. She's like blowing this guy off to, try and keep things the status quo and keep Moff Gideon, who's still alive and really pissed off at Mandalorians, keep him doing his thing while she diverts the New Republic from finding out about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, which is, and it's probably intentional, I mean, but my one interesting point, I guess, on that is that I feel like it's, if anything, the Mandalorian and some of these other shows that we've seen, or other media we've seen, have maybe like the New Republic a lot less, right? So I'm really not that sad to see it get blown up in later movies. So they were just a bunch
Yeah,
of jerks anyway.
because what? The Old Republic lasted for like, what, several thousand years, and the New Republic lasted like, what, 20?
20, yeah. So,
So,
easy come, easy go. I mean, if it's run by these people and the other stuff you got around is Jack Black, we could lose some planets, is all I'm saying.
yeah, right. And then, we have I guess the conclusion, possibly. Again, didn't see him burn up exactly, but, of Moff Gideon. So they kind of wrap up that entire plot line of all the prior seasons. So, we learned that probably, because he mentioned that, his clones that were here, they were creating were force sensitive, which leads us back to why we found Grogu in the first place with the scientist guy who's now a brain dead vegetable, thanks to our little spy friend. And I guess they were trying to make force sensitive clones for whatever reason. They did that. Okay, wrap that up. We're leading into, I guess, the future live action Star Wars, like the Ahsoka series, by dropping the Shadow Council and seeing our first ever live action Admiral Pelion and dropping Admiral Thrawn's name like 45 times. So that's got to be in the Ahsoka series. It has to be because they're set that up completely to go that way.
Yeah,
And then we have this Commandant Hux guy, which I only knew the Hux name from the last Star Wars trilogy. I had no clue that he was apparently big in the new Star Wars novels, which I haven't read. So,
oh,
but
well,
hey, so there's live action version of that guy who people have read about for a couple years now. So hey,
yeah, and it's hugs anyway. Um,
yeah, right.
no, so a couple thoughts on that. The cloning thing. One of the cool theories I've seen, and take it for what it's worth, is that this might not even actually have been Gideon. It was one of the clones. So we may still have a Gideon floating around, or more Gideons, because there's nothing to say that these are all the clones.
Yeah, because I guess you have to test out your batch, right? Are they really force sensitive or not, or who knows? Yeah.
Well, and one of the theories I saw just for fun was that last season he had a mustache, and so because this guy didn't have a mustache, that he was a clone, and the real one's still out there. So, so
It's like evil Gideon because he has a mustache, and good Gideon because he doesn't have a mustache, right?
yeah, wait till you get to the one with the goatee, man. That's the worst.
Yeah, there you go. Then for sure he's the mirror Gideon. Yeah.
Which that would make him a good guy. What, I don't know. That's really confusing. Uh, but yeah, I will say I'm really excited, obviously, to get into Pelion. I kind of cheered a little bit when I caught that name drop, and Grand Admiral Thrawn, because I'm a huge Thrawn fan. Those were some of my favorite novels. There's a signed Thrawn novel on the bookshelf behind me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. I really liked Rebels. That the end of that was one of the biggest cliffhangers I've got hanging out there in my Star Wars media, and I'm really excited for them to resolve it and maybe get a real live action Ezra Bridger. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in upcoming Star Wars media.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, spoilers for Ahsoka, which is not really a spoiler. I think pretty much everybody from Rebels that's still alive is going to be a live action person. So, except obviously for the one person in Rebels that didn't survive it. And no, I guess no spoilers now if you haven't seen that, but whatever. So he won't be there, but everybody else apparently will be a live action version. So that's gonna be cool. So.
Well, you narrowed it down because other than
okay, fine,
one person, there's everybody else that we've seen. So we'll put it that way.
Yeah,
because we've seen literally everybody has shown up somewhere except for one person.
And then I guess if any episode of an 8-episode season could not be as good as all the rest of them, I think it was episode 6, the one with all the stunt casting and really odd storylines about droids. I guess just because I think of Jack Black as more like a weird comedy, zany kind of dude. I didn't really buy him in the story, even though he was a kind of little off. I just didn't really care for it. And Lizzo as it didn't work for me. And then I think I had said in one Slack that I was half expecting the next celebrity cameo for them to like trot out Walt Disney's frozen head, So.
Yeah, I probably got through this one a little bit better than you did, although it's still probably one of the weaker episodes of the block for me. So here's a funny thing: I don't like comedies. I'm not a fan of comedy. They usually grate on my nerves. But Jack Black is one of those actors that usually when he shows up, which is rare for a comedy actor, I just enjoy. There's something about the stuff he does that I just kind of enjoy his acting, and I do get laugh out of him. So seeing him in this episode, Lizzo was just there. I could roll my eyes and move on from that one. I did really enjoy having Doc Brown show up, so that one worked for me. And the plot, yeah, there's droids are always droids, and we just kind of have to deal with droids. I know you have thoughts, but yeah, it just kind of is part of Star Wars, and we'll probably expand on that in a minute. But as far as the actual plot of this one, I'm a sucker for police procedurals, and I just kind of flipped that switch in my head and said, hey, now we've got, Bo-Katan and Din Djarin doing a cop show, buddy cop show. And I'm here for that. Like, if they want to do a full season of just those two out doing cop show stuff, I'm for it.
Yeah, I think if I would have thought of it that way, I might have enjoyed it more. Because
Well,
yeah, if you think about it that way, yeah. Because again, like sci-fi, like Marvel's doing with the movies, they can make superhero movies do anything. It can be a cop show, it could be a comedy, it could be a heist, it can be whatever. So yeah, same with the sci-fi. You can do like the buddy cop thing. Yeah.
so spoiler alert, that's actually how I not spoiler, but funny side note, it's how I get through episode 2, because I mentally block everything else from my brain but from episode 2, except for the fact that it is a Obi-Wan Kenobi cop show. So don't tell me I'm wrong. I don't need to rewatch it. That's just what it is in my head, and I kind of put it through the same lens on this episode.
Yeah, and then we just have like just I guess a weird view into droid life that I don't think I ever needed to know, or I don't know I don't know if anybody knows what to do with droids in Star Wars. Like, are they property? Are they free? Do they have feelings? Why do they have to socialize in a bar? I mean, it's a cute concept. Like you're going to a bar and it's a droid bar, and they'll all look at the humans like you're in a droid bar. So, okay, is this like a long game joke on the No Droids Cantina scene in The New Hope? I mean, obviously that's what they're going for. Hey, haha, look, haha, funny. See, it's just like, why are droids in a bar?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. That droids are one of those things that it depends on the writer and what the need of the scene, right? If it's a droid they want you to get attached to, then they're a character. C3PO, R2D2, BB-8, any of the droids that they've been like, hey, these are going to be crew members, right? You want to treat them just like the rest of the cast. And then if they're not, if they're toss away characters, then we really don't. They don't want us to be involved in them. They're property. They're robots, and we're okay with them getting blown up. See battle droids. Yeah. So
Yeah, thousands and thousands of battle droids. Right?
yeah, I mean mass murder, right? I mean it's and there's been other ones like the pilot droid thing in Solo and different things like that where you're like, yeah, okay, maybe get attached to that droid, but don't get too upset. We can use it for comedy or whatever if it gets blown up. But so you're right. They never really know what to do with them, and they just kind of wave back and forth between full on people and part of the crew to just machines that you're blowing up in mass.
Yeah, and I wouldn't harp on it, but it's just because other droids they haven't gone this much detail into them. So they're there, they're characters, they're doing a little thing, but to have like a whole backstory now, I'm like, I didn't think about that before, but now you're making me think about it. Why? I don't want to think about it. Droids are cute, they do things, and it's fun. Now I'm thinking like droid life, like they go home and like oh, honey, I'm home. Like what? I don't need this.
Well, so what you haven't seen yet is we had a whole 7 seasons of Clone Wars plus Bad Batch where we've gotten into the eyes of the clones, right? And in the movies you're kind of like, oh, no big deal. We had these clone warriors and they were really cool armor, but they died out before the actual original trilogy. So we aren't going to be too attached to them. And no, we spent 7 seasons of an animated series becoming attached to clones.
Hmm.
And I think now what you're going to see is instead of Clone Wars, we're going to have Separatist Wars. And it's going to be 7 seasons of getting you attached to the droids.
Maybe like like a droid sitcom, like a droid's life.
Right. Well, what they're going to deal with their battle scars, and they're going to deal with what do they do if when the war's over, and how do how do they go back to civilian life, and what do you do if you're a beat up battle droid in the galaxy? How do you make a living?
Yeah, you're programmed to shoot and kill people, and now you have to go cook some food at a bar, like whatever. You have to deal with the post-traumatic stress of. I mean, that might actually work. I don't know. I mean,
I should have trademarked that. Crap.
yeah, yeah. So if you're listening, Dave Filoni or John Favreau, no. Let's see. We did kind of talk about it in the little recap. But I do like Din Djarin's rules lawyering about letting Bo-Katan have the Darksaber. It's like, well, hey, she beat the thing that beat me, so it's hers. Yeah, there we go. Honor satisfied.
Yeah.
So,
As soon as that happened, I looked over at my son and said, when she picked up the Darksaber, and I said, it's hers now. And even though she gave it back, I was like, no, she's going to get it. I was vindicated on that one.
yeah, it's a nice little shortcut, and it does fit the whole deal. So it's like, okay, fine. If they believe in honor and whatever, and they sold it. Good job. So, but then after episode 6, we have probably the best 2 episodes probably of the whole 3.5 seasons of The Mandalorian. I'm gonna forget the other half of Boba Fett anyway. But yeah, so
But
we
the
could
Vespas. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Space biker gang anyway, scooter gang anyway. But yeah, we get to Grogu being a mech pilot and jumping around, and of course him spamming because now he can talk. He was walking around like I don't know if he should have this thing. Yes. It was just fantastic. And then like obviously no, which he has a big no at the end when they're fighting, and he's like breaks him up. It's like no, So I loved it. That was fantastic. And of course, basically this is like a 2-episode movie where it's just fights, shoot, pew pew, shoot, with basically equal forces here, because now the stormtroopers are Beskar armed like the Mandalorians. So which apparently only is good when you hit them where it's not armored, which is a lot more places than you would think. But
Well, Beskar is a finite resource, so
yeah, because it's hard to armor up like the joints, so you can't really do that.
yeah, which does lead to a funny. Just as a side note, I did see again. I like reading up on all the spoilers. Once I've watched something, I like going and digging for all the things, the theories. And there was a theory that the armor was going to end up being a bad guy because of how similar her mask was to the one of Gideon had. So anyway.
Well, speaking of things I guess you didn't hear about in spoilers or whatever, or behind the scenes. So why is Axe Wove's thruster pack so much better than everybody else's? Like, everybody else couldn't get that far on the planet when they're chasing that large bird a couple episodes ago, but his thruster pack can go from underneath the ground, however many hundreds of feet, into space. That's like miles and miles and miles versus going like across town that they couldn't do.
Well, yeah. So two thoughts on that. I'll come up with 2 excuses, and you can shoot them both down. The one I saw online was that you don't really know how long they were chasing that bird. They could have been chasing it for a lot further. So that's kind of the theory. I don't buy it. And the other one, it's my personal theory, which is, hey, he was in charge for so long, he just gave himself the best equipment.
Yeah, it's like I want a thruster pack that can hit escape velocity. Why? Just in case.
Nobody else gets it. Just me.
Yeah, because you never know. And hey, look, it paid off. See, so there you go. And then yeah, of course, the fights with these Praetorian guards were great. It's nice to know that they can fight and not just look cool like in episode 8 or whatever, right? When they just got rolled over basically.
Yeah, and Grogu doing the force snatch on all the weapons just to keep them off balance while Din tore them all apart was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And then of course we have the final climactic fight with Gideon and Bo-Katan, and to prove he's the big bad, you just can't defeat him with one person. Basically it took all 3 of them finally working together to beat him. Although technically, I guess you really needed a fourth person to bring a capital ship with you and crash him into him. But hey, you gotta be sure, right? This is the only way to be sure. Nuke him from orbit, only way to be sure. And then of course, Grogu apparently is now like the Force Master and can put up a Force bubble to save everybody from an exploding capital starship, which also is pretty cool.
And didn't need a nap at the end, because previously he's had to take a nap almost immediately after using that much power, and this time he's just like, no, I'm good. I'll sit down, but I'm good.
Yeah, he kind of sat down like
Yeah, but he didn't like pass out like he did at the beginning of the season. So
yeah,
but yeah, I gotta give more props to Gideon's armor, right? Because the Whir robot armor feel to it was just amazing, and kind of explained how he could hold his own against both Din and Bo-Katan at the same time, and crush the dark saber and all the kind of cool stuff he pulled off in this episode. Although R.I.P. dark saber, because that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, unless the armor is good at rebuilding that, I don't know what it took to build it in the first place. I mean, I'm assuming Mandalorians built it, so maybe they can rebuild it now that they got the forge back. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some whole backstory on the original Mandalore guy whose name is escaping me, who was I guess a Jedi of some kind, and conquered and unified Mandalore, and was kind of the first overall ruler of Mandalore. And the darksaber was his, hence why anybody who has it's kind of the leader. So
Okay.
there's a whole cool little backstory there. So yeah, on one hand, it's a shame to see it go, but on the other, there's some cool thoughts of what happens if Mandalorians now have to choose a leader differently and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if they do a season 4 or whatever, who knows? They might see that. And if they don't, like I said before, at least they end this all on a nice happy note. Everything's tied up in a nice, you can't really complain, or no cliffhanger bow. Everything's done. Grogu's now adopted. They're back to bounty hunting, doing what they want. They got the little home on the range. And in the Western theme now, you got IG-11 back as the new sheriff in town. So, and Bo-Katan's leader of Mandalore, and she can take off her helmet, and everybody's happy with no helmets except the people that have to wear helmets, and everybody's happy. So now it's time to go out there and recruit more Mandalorians to come home. So happy ending for everybody.
Yeah, which could lead into the book of Bo-Katan. The book of Bo-Katan kind of rolls a little bit, so we could always have that as the next spinoff, because you've got Katie Sackhoff, you might as well use her. So, and
yeah, we never saw Pedro Pascal's face at all because he was too busy with The Last of Us or whatever to show up for a scene to take off his helmet. So hey,
yeah, props to his stuntman though, he sold it. So
yeah, right.
So yeah, I think there'll be more, but yeah, either way, like you said, this is a good wrap up of the season, and it could even be a series wrap up. Although I think they're not done selling stuff, so we'll see what they bring out next. Obviously, we've got Ahsoka coming up, so
yeah, we'll see if they want to do a season 4 of Mandalorian. I don't know how much it costs or how much money, how you quantify now in a streaming world, like how much it's worth to keep spending millions on things. But it's popular, everybody loves it, so maybe they'll bring back season 4. Or like I said last time, there's the idea of one of those movies coming out eventually will be like a wrap up of all these live action Disney Plus stories, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, and Mandalorian. So who knows? They might save it for that.
they could call it the Star Defenders.
Yeah, Space Cops.
Well, they already tried that one.
Yeah, well.
Although I still think a Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, and Space Cops buddy movie would be pretty good too.
Well, you have to go out and get new Mandalorians, so you got to go where they are. So you never know. All right. Anything else to rave about Mandalorian season 3?
No, other than like you said, obviously it's given how the Book of Boba Fett went, and while I didn't dislike it as much as some people online did, it was not up to the same standard as Mandalorian. It's good to see the Mandalorian back to its same level of standards, and I would say even surpassing what was a good second season. So,
yep, I agree. All right, so that's the end of the Mandalorian for now. To be continued. ... We'll see. So next time, if we want to keep it in the Star Wars family, we could give our thoughts about Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah, another
that's
series.
Only 16 episodes, so we won't quite go through the recap like we did because we'll be here forever.
Yeah, we may just talk about that one. So do your homework, read up on that one if you're interested in hearing our thoughts.
Yep, because 16 episodes. We're not going to go episode by episode. No way. In one half-hour bit of a podcast. So.
Because I have thoughts. So.
Yeah, right. And we'll find out next time. So that's it, and we'll see you again whenever. Goodbye.
Goodbye.